What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Main Ingredient, where the main ingredient in your success is you. I'm Lindsay Ruffin, cooking show advisor and owner of Park Road Studios, where we make cooking shows easy. My guest today is Chef Heather Carey, owner of the Green Palette Kitchen and host of the Real Food Stories podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about my cooking and get to know your audience a little bit better.
Yeah, speaking of audience, real quick, I want to let folks know how we came to meet, how we came to be here today. I actually reached out to Heather to inquire about being on her podcast, and it didn't seem like a good fit, but it actually worked out better. It seemed like a perfect fit for her to come on my podcast. So that's why we're here today. And the message there for you all is Heather has a platform that she uses to talk about food. I have my platform that I use to talk about food. We're not waiting for anyone's permission or waiting for any gatekeeper to pick us. We've chosen ourselves. We have something to say about food and health, and we're taking advantage of the opportunity that every day provides for us to do that. And I want to encourage chefs who are watching this to do the same. I get so many people who come to me on a daily basis who are looking for an opportunity to choose them. They want somebody to do something for them or open a door for them. And we're in a time where we all have the ability to create any kind of opportunity we want for ourselves. And that's what you see me doing. That's what you see Heather doing. That's what you see us doing here together. So I want to encourage anyone watching this to not wait for someone to choose you. Choose yourself and get started. Start your podcast, start your cooking show, start your blog, start whatever, but don't wait for somebody to choose you. So with that out of the way, let's get to know Heather. Tell us who you are and what you do, Heather.
Sure. So I am a culinary nutritionist, which is basically I have a background in clinical nutrition, and I also went to cooking school for health supportive cooking. And this was many, many years ago that I did this. I have been in the business for half of my life. And my original intent was always to get people back into their kitchens. I definitely wanted the science background of the clinical part of nutrition, but really my first love is to teach people and show people how to take food and all of that information that we get on the internet and then put it to practice in your very own kitchen. So that's what I have been doing. I do a combination of nutrition coaching. I teach cooking classes. I used to teach more in person. Now I teach mostly online since COVID. And I do it. So my whole goal is to teach you and have you taste what we are talking about. So when we're talking about eating a Mediterranean diet, it's one thing to talk about it and just say eat more beans and eat more tofu or eat more plant-based or eat more vegetables. But when we get into the kitchen together and we learn how to season vegetables and make them taste delicious, and then you can taste it, that's a whole different experience. So that's really what I have been focusing on for the last number of years. My focus also right now, I've shifted a little bit over the years from teaching different groups. So right now, my big focus is on women in midlife and menopause and the menopause transition, because I think that there is such a need for more education, more information. There's so much confusion in the menopause space. I have learned a lot just really putting my focus on this, and it's definitely something that women are really lacking in and really need. So that's where I am putting all my energy into right now.
So tell us how can diet help mitigate the symptoms of menopause that women experience? How can what they're eating help them with that transition, that period in their life?
So menopause is a time, there's a couple stages of menopause. There's perimenopause, that's the stage before you stop getting your period, and that can last for about 10 years of your life. And then there's menopause and then there's postmenopause. Now, when you are suffering with hot flashes and night sweats and all the other symptoms of menopause, there's a lot that can be helped by menopause hormone therapy. I mean, that's definitely an option, but it's not an option for every woman. Not every woman is a candidate to take hormones, nor does every woman want to take hormones. And that said, even if you do decide to take hormone therapy, your food plays such a pivotal role because right now, during menopause, the menopause transition, your risk of heart disease goes up, your risk of osteoporosis, certain cancers, so many things happen for women during this menopause transition. So, whether you're on hormones or not, the need for really great nutrition, focusing on physical activity, it could not be stated strongly enough. I mean, your food, this is not the time of your life to start slacking off. It's the time to start doubling down and really focusing on eating more plant-based, more really high quality protein, upping your fruits and vegetables, upping your calcium, your fiber. It all counts towards helping with those lifestyle diseases. Like I said, heart disease, osteoporosis, diabetes, certain cancers. This is the time to really start focusing on your health.
I'm on a campaign, an education campaign, and an educating myself as well as educating others about ultra processed food and what it's doing to all of us, and specifically with these chronic conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, that all spiral into cascade into worse things. If that's not bad enough, well, one of the things that I read somewhere was that with these food additives, which is what the definition of ultra processed food is, these uh, chemical additives that the food companies are creating and putting in our food, and all these adverse effects that they're having on our bodies. And one of the things that I read about was how these food additives are bringing girls into puberty earlier, and also, and on the back end of it, women are entering menopause earlier. Is that something that you can speak to at all?
I think that there's starting to be a lot more evidence. I'm very in support of evidence-based nutrition. So I don't want to go on hearsay or something that was just done on animals or rat studies or things like that. I want proof. But the fact is that a lot of these chemicals can increase the estrogens in your body. And so I haven't heard that much about going into early menopause because of some of these, but going into early puberty, I certainly have. So we want to keep our food as clean as possible. Ultra processed foods are full of highly palatable chemicals. They make you want to keep coming back for more. Not to mention tons of sugar, tons of salt, tons of unhealthy fats that they're like a chemical cocktail that food manufacturers know that will keep you coming back for more again and again. So we got to get ourselves like away from these ultra processed foods. I know they're highly convenient. We're all busy. We all want, like it's Tuesday night, we're coming in from work and we want to just like fall back on some takeout or some fast food. I get it. But on the other hand, this is your health. I mean, this is something that you really want to take very seriously. And your food is the one thing that we do every single day in our bodies, right? We have to eat food, and it affects how we live, our energy, how we feel, cancers, heart disease, all of it. So we definitely want to start crowding out. I like the word crowding out rather than we just have to hardcore eliminate things. Let's just crowd out some of these foods and in turn replace them with more whole, unprocessed fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, great for you proteins. That's the best way to eat. Now, that's not easy sometimes, right? Because I mean, this is what I was talking about before. I can just tell you what to eat. Just eat those foods. But if you don't know how to eat those foods, if you don't know how to get into your kitchen and make a meal, it becomes really difficult. And I think that's where people might give up and just say, oh, it's easier to order pizza. Let me just go grab McDonald's or just something quick. So we have to teach people how to learn the skills to get into your kitchen, not only to cook, but to also make your food taste good enough that you want to keep coming back into your kitchen and cooking.
That's really the focus of my work these days is getting chefs to create cooking shows to deliver that education and bring people back into their own kitchen. And we're going to have to slow down. We need a slow food movement because if you prioritize convenience and now, you're going to eat bad food. Period. That there's just no 30-second option that's healthy unless you've pre-made food for yourself in your home, like so doing meal prep on Sundays. We're going to have to accept that there's a trade-off. If you want the immediacy, then you're sacrificing health. If you want health, then you're going to have to allocate some time in your week for food preparation. You're going to have to cook for yourself because the easy to grab options are all bad, all of them. So what I'm trying to get more chefs to do, more folks like you, is to deliver that education, just like what you said. Let's make shopping in your own kitchen convenient. So we can learn how to stock a pantry with more than just ultra processed items, cans and bags of stuff that's not good for you. Let's learn how to stock a pantry correctly with base ingredients, and let's learn how to make quick and easy recipes, things that would take you less time than running to the local fast food place or fast casual and back. In the time it takes you to do that, you could just stay in your own kitchen, stay in your pajamas, and make something as good or better, and it's healthy. And folks we've just gotten away from that. And for life is just getting faster and faster paced, and it's not healthy. Um, you mentioned shifting or embracing at least a plant-based diet as something that would be helpful to women going through menopause. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Oh, well, plant-based, um, a lot of people think that plant-based means just eating plants, just eating vegetables and fruit, but that's not the case. Plant-based means fruits and vegetables, obviously, but it also means whole grains, not refined grains, but whole grains. And it also means eating plant-based proteins. So beans, tofu, even some grains like quinoa are really high in plant-based proteins. And the benefit of eating plant-based proteins, tofu, for example, is really high in a compound called phytoestrogens. And phytoestrogens are like natural estrogens that can mimic, estrogen. So if you eat tofu, for example, that can just help support your menopausal symptoms. No, not for everybody, but it definitely can help support hot flashes and night sweats and things like that. So a lot of women have reported really good things from eating things like tofu, soy products. Um, but so that's one thing. The other benefit of like plant-based proteins is that not only are they high in protein, but they are also high in fiber. And we need both protein and fiber are two very essential nutrients that we are not getting enough of as women. And fiber helps with our gut microbiome. It feeds our gut, right? It helps with our just regularity. it 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 just helps with overall health, heart disease. It helps lower cholesterol. So, and then fruits and vegetables are full. Consider those your edible vitamins. Those are like just full of vitamins and minerals and all sorts of phytonutrients. And whole grains are also great sources of fiber, high in B vitamins. All of these nutrients are nutrients that we need as women. I mean, all of us need these nutrients, but for women especially, when your incidence by your 50s, your incidence of cancers, heart disease, osteoporosis go from here to here, we really have to focus on these things. The plant-based like soy products also, for example, are an amazing source of calcium. And that's one thing that I think a lot of women are lacking in is calcium, which supports our bone health.
Is the Mediterranean diet a plant-based diet, or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Mediterranean diet is primarily a plant-based diet. It's very heavy on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, a lot of fish, a lot of olive oil. Olive oil is a staple in the Mediterranean diet, but that's a really good for you healthy fat. And with not so much red meat, very little red meat. So your protein sources are really coming from mostly fish and whole grains. But the olive oil is key. Olive oil is very heart healthy and really great for you.
Tell us about Green Palette Kitchen. That's your teaching arm, right? Can you share
Yes,
how
I
what
have.
tell us about that, how that works?
Yeah, Green Palette Kitchen is where I teach my cooking classes. So I used to, like I said before, I used to be pretty much in person with my cooking classes. I have a teaching kitchen, and now when COVID happened, like many of us, had to pivot and get online. I barely even knew how to use Zoom. Now I'm professional at it. But I had to, really pivot and either get online or my business was going to, die. And I did. So I teach a lot of corporate wellness classes. So I teach to corporations, which is really great because I can reach hundreds of people in a class versus just, a couple of small group. And I also teach private cooking classes and small group cooking classes online for women and based on a variety of different topics. Losing weight is a big one for women in menopause. Adopting a plant-based diet, meal prep. So I do a variety of different kinds of classes through there.
Is that something? So the corporate ones, I know obviously folks can participate from anywhere. The virtual classes, anywhere, anybody, anywhere are able to participate in that.
Anybody, anywhere. Yeah, as long as you have a computer in your kitchen with you, you can participate anywhere in the world. I mean, I have taught international classes, I have taught just nationwide classes, and as long as they're in their kitchen, sometimes, or you can even just watch me cook in my kitchen and just be an observer, and that's okay too.
Okay.
In my teaching kitchen, I have two cameras. You can see my cutting board. You can also see my face and you can see my equipment and my stove and my oven and so it's very interactive, and I'm pretty good at talking and cooking at the same time now. and it's yeah, and my classes are definitely a mix of education, the nutrition, the science-based part of it, and also just teaching you the skills to be in your kitchen, making your food taste good, how to flavor your food using spices and herbs, and the or even talking about the best equipment to use. My whole goal also, I know women, anyone, all of us, we're busy, right? We want to like just do the minimum in the kitchen, myself included. I'm a very busy, career woman. So there's things that you can do to save yourself a lot of time in the kitchen. So that's, so we cover a lot of ground in my cooking classes.
That reminds me of my background is IT, spent a career doing IT, and one of the sayings is that the best programmer is a lazy programmer because they program efficiently. They write their code so that they do have to do as little work as possible, and the maximum amount of work gets done. So I definitely understand that. Can you talk about your journey to becoming comfortable standing in front of a camera? Because I get so many people who come to me who really want a cooking show, chefs, professional chefs. Some of them have 20, 30 years of experience in commercial kitchens, and they just cannot get out of their own head in order to put themselves in front of a camera and teach what they know. So can you talk about that journey that you went on? Were you great at it right from the beginning, or did you have to work towards it?
Yeah, I totally understand that because I mean, the first time I taught online, I think my audience, I had about 75 people on the call. Just looking at a Zoom camera, like so I'm on my computer and you can't really see everybody. You can see their little squares and I'm not going to lie, it was a little unnerving because I'm talking, they're all on mute, and I'm hoping that they're listening to me or watching me. And I think I mean it can be intimidating. I totally get it, but I I had no choice. I was either going to get online or my business was going to fold during COVID. So that was one motivation to do it. And I also realized that just the huge benefit. I could reach so many people being online versus being in my teaching kitchen with six women. I mean, I could reach 600 people at a time if I wanted to. So that was very motivating, I think, to just keep going with it. And I think there's just a lot of that basic feel the fear and do it anyway. You have to. I mean, I think even now when when I get on Zoom and I'm teaching a class, I definitely feel some nerves. I mean, I would recommend highly just getting yourself very prepared for a class. Rehearse if you have to, and, and especially if you're on video if you're recording the class, you can, if you mess up something, you could take, do another take and do it over and edit things. But when you're live, you don't have a chance to do that. And you just have to, uh, I would rehearse first. If this is new to you, teaching classes online is new to you, absolutely do a lot of rehearsing first. I had a lot of, I've been teaching cooking classes for years, so that wasn't something totally new to me, but being online was new, and it definitely took. I had to, make sure I had to triple check all my equipment, my cameras, and really kind of do a couple dry runs with it.
So you
That
jumped
would
in
be
the
my
deep
best
end of the
advice.
pool. You jumped in
Yes, I
or got
did.
thrown into the deep end of the pool because going live is that's the hardest, that's the highest level. That's the hardest thing that you can do, and you did it. You're still here. You didn't die. So I want folks to understand that what I'm proposing to them, what I tell everybody to do is in your kitchen, set up your camera, your phone. That's the only camera you need to get started, and record a test video. Make a sandwich. Pretend to make a sandwich. Do something in your kitchen and record it. And that video that you make, nobody has to see. It's not a live stream. You're recording it using your smartphone, and then you're going to review it yourself. And whatever you see that you don't like or adjustments you need to make, you'll make those adjustments and then make another video that nobody's going to see except you. So there's really no excuse to be afraid because nobody's going to see this. You do your initial repetitions, videos that only you're going to be able to see, and that's how you can develop the confidence to put something out in front of the world, which you are going to have to do at some point. If you want a cooking show, that means standing in front of a camera and cooking. And you're just going to have to bite that bullet at some point, but you don't have to. Heather got thrown into the deep end of the pool. Fortunately, that's not something that most folks have to deal with. So they can just, take baby steps but you got to take some steps. Like you have to move forward. Let's talk about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. I was just going to say, yes, the rehearse it 10 times if you have to. I mean, getting in front of a camera I understand it. It's unnerving. I mean, it's even probably a little easier for me to get in front of a camera knowing I have other people on Zoom on the other end, even if they're muted, which is a little unnerving, versus just me with my video camera. There's something about that, but it just takes practice. It really takes a lot of
Yep.
practice.
Everything is weird until you
And
do it enough times that it's not weird. That's
yes,
just how it
I
works.
promise you, it gets so you do it once, you do it again, and you do it again, and then you get some feedback, and then you get some positive feedback, and you know something's working right, and it's and then it feels a lot more comfortable.
And that's key. You when you get that feedback and you realize that you're genuinely helping people, that takes away a whole lot of the fear. Because now there's something else in the equation, which is the value that you're delivering, the impact that you're having. And it allows you to give yourself a whole lot more grace. It's just everything works once you start taking steps forward. Nothing works when you're just standing there, not moving your feet, trying to figure everything out. All of the answers that you seek, you will find along the journey, but you got to start walking. I'm glad you pointed that out, because when people get that positive reinforcement in the form of somebody saying, "Hey, that really helped me," there's nothing better than that. For folks who have it in their heart to teach and help people, and they want to really help folks help develop a better relationship with food to improve the quality of their lives. When you realize that what you're putting out into the world is having the intended effect that you want to have on people, there's just nothing better than that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you believe in what you are teaching, which I very much believe in what I am teaching, I know that I am providing a really useful service to people. I think people are confused. I know my audience well enough now. I mean, I think most people don't really know how to get in their kitchen and cook, and it's overwhelming to them. So if I can break this down, if I can make healthy cooking really simple and easy, step by step, I'm providing a really good service. And if I can reach even just a couple people, that's I feel good about that. And so I think that that helps kind of motivate me too. I think I know my purpose in the world, with teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and that's I think that's the motivation for people to, for aspiring chefs to keep in mind, is to that you have a purpose, you have a message, and people need to hear it.
I'm glad you made that point about even sometimes it's just a couple of people. That's two human beings. So I learned that lesson from Patrick Stewart, the guy that used to play Captain Kirk. I'm not Captain Kirk, the Captain Picard on Star Trek, the bald headed guy. And so he's a theater actor. That's where he comes from. And so he would talk about how sometimes I saw him in an interview one time, and he was talking about how he had prepared to deliver a theatrical presentation, and he was expecting there to be this big audience there. And when he walks out, there's like 4 or 5 people. And instead of being disappointed by that, he went, "Oh, okay, I get to deliver a completely different experience to these people. It's going to be a much more intimate experience than if there had been 100 people here." So he really embraced that and poured into it and delivered a different performance than what he had intended to deliver. And that really, I saw that interview so many years ago, but for some reason it stuck with me. And then we transitioned into this online world where we do things and host virtual events and live streams and such. And it really helped me to have had that lesson that I didn't know I was going to need, because a lot of times the audience you're expecting to show up doesn't show up. And so instead of me being disappointed, what I did exactly what Patrick Stewart said. And okay, I got one or two people here. I get to really pour into these people. They're going to leave here with the best experience, the best VIP experience they could have ever gotten, because I don't have 50 people in here that I have to attend to. I got one or two people, and I can make sure they get absolutely everything they came here for and more. So that's I want to pass that lesson on to anybody watching this as well. Don't be disappointed by low numbers. Every number is a human being. You can have an impact on that one person, and that's enough. If you can take one person, put one person on a path to avoid diabetes or get themselves off of diabetes medication, that's a huge impact on that individual as well as their family. So we should not get caught up in large numbers. Just, remember what we're doing here. We're helping people, and each person, each individual person is a person. Um, let's talk about your
Yeah,
podcast,
I
Heather. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
sure. I was just going to say that I mean, I really, I love that because a lot of times I think we get caught up in like, if we're not serving thousands and, we don't have 100,000 followers on Instagram or anything, then we're not enough or we're not doing enough. But honestly, the classes I have taught I have taught really large classes where I feel like, I don't know, is anyone even listening to me or did, that's really, it's just not that intimate, versus then I've had these smaller classes where I could really be, I could give attention to the participants and pay attention and then when you get feedback from people, even if it's one or two people and they say that was such a great class, I got so much out of it. I mean, it it really helps to realize that you are influencing people, even if it's just one or two people.
Yeah, one or two is enough. It, I get that feedback once in a while from, that I have the is anybody listening experience all the time. Just, posting and you're doing different things. You go, man, is anybody paying attention to this? And every once in a while, an angel will appear and just say, hey, man, that was really helpful or whatever. You go, okay, somebody is listening. So I'll just keep going. Like that's what you need to keep
Yeah.
going. And that one person, if you're educating a head of household on healthy food habits, that's getting passed down to their little people. So you're, through that one person, you can change, one of the campaigns that I'm on is for chefs to help people revise their family cookbook, because a lot of these family cookbooks are these old recipes. You're passing down a cookbook full of recipes for cardiovascular disease. We can, you know, we can change these recipes and implement, maintain the family traditions, but in a healthy way, because we didn't know back then what we know now about food. So we got to adapt these recipes, and that's still honoring the tradition, honoring the people who created those recipes, because grandma, great grandma, they would not want you to keep making food that is going to make your family sick. They would absolutely want you to adapt these recipes so that we can keep the family healthy and prosperous. And people need help with that. That's a huge opportunity for chefs. Regular people have these family recipes that have been passed down, and they need to learn how to adapt it because they want to maintain those traditions, but they have no idea how to make this recipe healthy and still taste good. And that's a huge opportunity for chefs to teach people.
Absolutely. No, I love that because I think a lot of people think like, well, we can't monkey with the recipe because then it's not going to taste good. Or like, but if you know the skills, if you are the chef who knows how to make food taste good, you, there's absolutely an opportunity to change any recipe could be made, can be tweaked and be made a little healthier without a doubt. So I think that's a great niche.
So tell us about
change,
tell us about your podcast, Heather. Real Food Stories. What's it about? What are you talking about? Who's it for? Tell us about it.
So I had spent many years blogging, and I got to a point where I felt like I was wondering if blogging was dead, if anyone was like actually reading blogs anymore. And so I decided just and blogging is a great, I think anybody when you have your own business, you need some kind of a vehicle to reach people. I think it's a good idea to have something to give people once a week, at least. And so I just transitioned out of, I saw the opportunity, I think, in podcasting. I know how popular podcasting is. And that was definitely something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I had no idea how to podcast when I first started, and I had to learn. But Real Food Stories is, I, I, my goal was to have a lot of transparency around food. I think that food is very complicated. I think people have a lot of stories around it. I think how people grew up with food translates into how they feel about themselves as adults, their diet behaviors, their weight loss behaviors, their health, and the negatives and the positives, and then passing down, like you said, like passing down recipes from your grandparents that your traditions. And so that's really where it started for me, is that I wanted to share my food stories, how I grew up, and the influences I had with my parents and my grandparents. And that's how it started. And now I probably speak more to women in menopause and midlife, but it's all based around food and lifestyle. So I do a combination of my own podcast, my solo podcast, or I do a lot of interviews. So, try to reach out to just women of all sorts of backgrounds that have everything to do with our how we are health wise in our like midlife.
What's one takeaway that you want women to have about how food can affect their menopause experience?
I I think if I had to have one takeaway, is that food should not be dismissed. That I see some I see women go through years and years of dieting, up and down with their weight, the latest diet, the latest fad, which is soul crushing. And so by the time we get into our 50s, there's a lot of women who I hear from who've just said, I've had enough. I'm done. Like I'm done dieting. I'm done doing, but and I agree with that because I think diets are punishing, but I don't think this is the time to give up on eating our best, right? So we want to shift away from that like diet minded thinking to eating really well to support our health and our well-being and our energy and our moods. And there's just so much that goes into our nutrition when we get into midlife and menopause. So this is the time to start really embracing it and embracing it in a really positive way.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that we should have? Any questions that I did not know to ask? Any information that you want to make sure that you impart to the audience, Heather?
I think I think just a takeaway for your audience would just again to you know go in scared but do it. If you have a message with your food, if you have something that you can influence people with health wise and teach, do it, because we are definitely a country that is in such desperate need of real food information. I think we're just so confused about how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, why to eat, and we need people to get out there and to spread the word on healthy eating.
Tell the people the name of your podcast, Heather.
My podcast is Real Food Stories.
And what's your website?
My website is greenpaletkitchen.com. And I also actually have two websites. I have greenpaletkitchen.com. That's where I have all my cooking classes and everything. And then I have heathercarey.com, which is where I highlight my coaching and my other programs and services.
And are there any programs or anything happening right now that you want the people to know about?
Well, I just in the fall, I had a program called Nourish Your Menopause Journey, and I'm about to relaunch that in the end of February. So that's if you want to get on my mailing list and find out about that, if you are a women in menopause or midlife and you are confused about how to um, deal with your food, your nutrition, and all the other lifestyle things that go along with menopause, definitely consider signing up. It's a great program, it's a great community of women, and you'll learn a lot about how to shift your thinking and focus on eating.
I love that you are using email marketing. That's something that I forgot to bring up, but I always bring it up. Email marketing is the most efficient way for you to deliver value to your audience. People, so many people, business owners are afraid to do email marketing. They say, I don't want to spam people. And I say, well, don't spam people. So if you send them useful, valuable information, you're not spamming them, you're helping them. You're actually positioning yourself as a trusted advisor by making it very easy for them to get the information they need. It's getting delivered directly into their inbox, so they don't have to log on to social media, this platform or that platform, and be on at the right time and hope the algorithm shows it to them. If they give you their email list, their email address, they're telling you that they trust you to do what you said you were going to do and provide something useful. And if you just honor that, you don't have to ever worry about spamming people. So please, if what Heather is offering sounds like something that you would benefit from, join her email list. If you don't like what she's sending out, you unsubscribe. It's that simple. It's no risk. So sign up for Heather's
Yeah.
email list if it makes sense for you. If you run a business, you have to start your own email list so that you can deliver value to people. And thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Heather. There are going to be links in the description box for everything that all of Heather's websites to make it easy for you to find her. QR codes on the screen. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Heather.
Great. Thank you so much too. It was a pleasure speaking to your audience and to you. I love talking about food and cooking, so I could do this all day. So thank you again.
All right. Take care.